Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live interview. I have a very, very special treat. And we've actually talked and heard from Teresa Easler before, but there's something new on the horizon and immediately thought you need to hear this. So first of all, just to introduce Teresa and refresh who she is and the importance of what she has to contribute. Teresa is a speaker trainer. And when I say that, every single coach at Strategic Coach has been through training with Teresa before they let us loose on clients. So, not only is she good at coaching you for how you present yourself, but also the languaging and communicating your message. So she is a communication coach extraordinaire. And, the reason for having her on this Facebook Live is we are living in a virtual world far beyond even the most extreme expectations. Here we are, we're recording this in November 2020, and I think we thought by summer we'd be coming back together, and now we're hoping if by next summer. So if we're operating, especially if we're operating our business in a virtual world, then we need different skills. And so what I want to do is have Teresa here as the expert. And Teresa, we'd like to talk about what's the most important skill that to excel in this virtual world.
Yeah, well, thank you, Patti. I really appreciate being able to speak to all the people that you are connected with and reaching with this, because this is so important. This is so important for all of us right now. And I know that many people are struggling. They're trying to figure out how to navigate this. They're trying to figure out how to be effective using technology, operating virtually, and looking at that, where to focus, what's the most important skill to develop. And I would say it always comes back to this, and this situation is amplified, but the most important skill to develop and be great at is connection. How do you connect? How do you connect over technology? And most people that I've worked with feel pretty confident about their ability to connect face to face, but you put a camera in front of them, you put a computer in front of them, you put that stuff in front of them, and all of a sudden they start seeing lots of different barriers that are in the way. And because of that, then they also see that achieving their results becomes more compromised.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is I think we've really focused this particular interview with virtual, but it's also true in brick and mortar. In fact, if people are looking
Yes.
for more connection now because we have less,
Yes.
contact. So we're looking for more from the little bit we do have. So it really applies for both. And I love what you said. It's like you really can connect with somebody. You can connect with them on the phone and you don't see them.
Yes.
Zoom at least helps that we can see each other. So that helps with the connection. But there are artificial boundaries that we put in place because you absolutely can connect. So Teresa, talk us through what are some of the essential, what is it, mindset, skills? What do you think are some of the ways that we can start overcoming these barriers that we're putting up?
Good question. Thanks, Patti. The first one, and it's very broad and it's essential. And that is the number one thing is you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. The way you show up, just like in person, if you're having a conversation with a client across the table, or you're talking to your neighbor over the backyard fence, or you're having a conversation with your team members, you have to be yourself. That's the number one thing. We cannot have connection with somebody who's not there. It shows up, in their body, but they're not there. So you must be yourself. And easier said than done, but that's a place of beginning, of being willing to be true to who you are.
And
And being,
I want to put something in there because you really tagged something for me. When you were talking about there was somebody not there, I immediately went, someone not present. They might
yes,
be physically there, but they're thinking about something else. They're thinking about what they have to do with their kids. Might their kids come through the door? They're thinking about the to-do list and have they done this and all this noise. So
yes.
they're not there.
Yes. Well, and especially in this medium, when you're in a Zoom meeting and somebody's got their phone and they're checking whatever they're checking on their phone instead of being attentive. And so they're not there. And the same thing if you're the communicator. But even beyond that being present piece of it is being willing to be yourself, all that entails. And I'm not going to get, I mean, we could spend our whole time together just speaking about that, because that is a deep and lengthy and very nuanced conversation. But it is a starting point. It is for us to be able to connect with any kind of medium like this or in person. It is a starting point. The other part about this, and this is the critical piece about connection, and that is, where's your attention? Is your attention on yourself, or is your attention on the other people? If your attention is on yourself, there won't be any connection. If you have your attention on the other person, greater chance that there's going to be connection. And easier said than done, again, because we're not wired that way. We're wired to see everything from our own point of view. We're wired to see things from our own center of the universe. And there are no results that get produced there. The only place we produce results is when we get out of our own focus on ourselves and get over into the world of other people. That's when we start producing results. So taking it constantly is like, how do they see it? How are they experiencing it? What might they be thinking? How would they take my words and interpret it in so that it's relevant in their lives? Will they even see what I have to say as relevant to them? And if not, then they're not going to pay any attention. There will be no connection. So that's, connection requires that shifting of orientation from being me-centered to being you-centered about others.
I love it. And of course, I've taken your training.
Yeah.
and refer to it. Oh, Teresa, every time I build a new speech or a new program, I refer to it again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Well, no, thank you. And every time when you're saying that, because that for me, absolutely critical, in my mind, I envision this bridge.
Yeah.
So am I building that bridge that I'm actually connected to the other person, or am I only on my side?
Yes. Yeah. And that's a great analogy, because it is a bridge. It is a bridge that enables, I mean, without that bridge, there is no communication. There is none. And this is not only in our business lives, this is in our personal lives too. If we are not willing to explore what the experience is with those we are attempting to connect with, if we're not willing to do that, there won't be communication. There won't be connection. There won't be communication. Doesn't happen. Can't happen in that circumstance. Yeah.
Absolutely. So our starting point is being yourself, being authentic,
Yes.
and then paying attention to who you're communicating with, what's important to them, where are they, what's their viewpoint.
Right.
What else? What else should we be tapping into?
Well, I mean, those are the two big ones. Those are really the two big ones. And I would say, and I'm hearing myself say this so much more with my clients these days, And I would say the other thing is be gentle with yourself, be kind
Mhm.
to yourself.
Mhm.
This is all about, not about being perfect, not about always getting it right, not about any of those things. Rather, it's being able to, I just shared this. I just completed a series of my workshop, and saying to all the participants, a skill that I'd like you to develop is non-judgmental self-observation.
Ooh, I like that. Say that again, Teresa. Fabulous.
Yeah. So this is, and we all, believe me, I need to do this myself. I have to constantly coach myself on this, but being able to observe ourselves without making yourself wrong or negating what you've done or any of those things is like, observe, what are you doing? Okay, that didn't work so much, correction. So all there is that observation, and then put the correction in. Observation, put the correction in. And you do that over and over and over again, and you'll get to whatever destination you've established for yourself. And it's moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, observe what did it work, what didn't work about it, put the correction in. And so that piece of it, we're very hard on ourselves. Our self-talk is terrible, just terrible.
Yeah, and we don't have room for it right now.
No,
Yep.
no, we've got to take care of ourselves. We've got to be really kind to ourselves. And that is not the same thing as saying, if you do, it's not like, who cares? It's not that. It's put the corrections in. If you're down a track that's not working, put the correction in. This is not an excuse for bad behaviors or anything like that. That's not what it is. But observe, you know what? I do this, I say this all the time because, as you know, when I'm coaching specifically about language that people are using and something, anybody who's gotten coached with me knows when I'm talking about weasel words, they know exactly what I'm speaking about. And when, that language, that's uncommitted language, and that anybody we're speaking to will also be uncommitted in their action if your language is uncommitted. I'm really bottom lining what that all is. And the conversation is notice yourself. Notice when you use those words. Are there certain circumstances that they become more prevalent? Are there, is it just a default for you to, because you're thinking so fast and you're not taking the time, whatever reason, observe yourself. And then go, I noticed I used that particular weasel word again. And then put the correction in. Believe me, you are going to use those words. You will. You are going to do things that are counter to what you know is the, quote, right thing to do. But if you keep focusing on, oh my God, I did this wrong. Oh my God. If you keep doing that, it's very, it's very damaging. We don't get better that way.
Yeah. So I want to get into talking about the importance of a communication coach. But before we do that, can you give me an example of one weasel word? Because I think people really need to land. It's like, I don't use weasel language.
Everybody does. Everybody does. So the big one, the very big one, this is the one that I tell everybody, get this out of your vocabulary. Do not use it, strip it out, work on it first. And that one is the word try. It is the Weasley of Weasley words, and try. And if you if you think about a couple of the examples that I use, imagine you're getting married and you're at the altar, and whoever is officiating says, do you take this man or woman to be your lawfully wedded spouse? And your answer is, I'll try. Not a good start. Not a good start.
Yes. Yes. And
Right?
it comes up all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And again, because we're not face to face, so much of our, even, business owners and their teams that are in brick and mortar stores are still dealing with virtual, staying in contact with, across different
Absolutely.
locations or whatever that is, or support. So, or family, for goodness sakes, we're doing Zoom
Exactly.
family calls. I did a Zoom Thanksgiving.
Did you?
Yep. So try comes up a lot, and
It
it
does.
really showcases we need to be aware of our communication more than ever,
Yes,
because we don't have the face-to-face cues that we can adjust. So
exactly.
Teresa, talk about, if you can figure this out on your own. You've already given some great tips people can practice, but of course, if you want to supercharge it and expedite the results you're trying to get, accelerate the results you're going to get.
There you go.
Took out the weasel word.
This is exactly right. It's like we all do these things.
Oh yes,
And it
absolutely.
becomes unconscious when you become more conscious of it and go, oh, wow, look, I did that. Let me, you know what, as we're speaking, I'm going to give a couple of tips on how and where to notice this first. So the first thing, so for example, we said the word try. My recommendation here is your written language. Look at those emails. Where is that word try sneaking into your emails? And change it. Instead of try, it's I will. That's the alternative. It's not I'll try, I will. And start it first in simply using it in your written language. Take cry out of your written language, and then develop an awareness of when it slips in, and then correct it. As I said, all there is correction. Observation, correction, observation, correction.
Love it, Teresa. That's a powerful, powerful tip. Because again, as you said, whatever language you use out is what you're going to get back. So if you're not getting commitment back, yes. So that really positions what is a communication coach and why is it so important now?
Well, a couple of things. One thing is that self-observation is tough. It's just tough to see when you're in the midst of something. It all looks the way it's supposed to look. And the only thing that we can tell is if we're not getting the results that we want, if we're not having the experience we want, then we know something's off. And oftentimes our own ability to diagnose what it is very different, is difficult because we're in it. It's hard to see when you're in the middle of it. So that's one of the important things to see it from, somebody who's on the outside, who's not living and breathing it, but from the outside. And like in my case, I've been doing this since the beginning of time. Sometimes I think, I'm very seasoned at this. So I have the ability to notice things that other people would not notice. And so the points at which do this and switch it like this, and you're going to see all of a sudden it just all fits in. It's like all the pieces, it's like Tetris. It's like, oh, and it all fits into place. So that's, having a coach, somebody from the outside who is able to observe and recognize and is experienced at identifying those points of leverage, allows you to accelerate the results that you're looking for. Very hard to do that on your own. Very hard to do that on your own.
And again, the idea here is accelerate. If I think back when I did your Encore program, and one of my strong memories, certainly the structure tools made a big difference for me, but one of the strong memories is getting your gracious, I'm going to say actually gracious, loving feedback on how I was projecting myself in a way that it was just a gift.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it allowed me to align what I wanted to accomplish with how I was presenting it. And I didn't even know there was a disconnect.
Yeah, yeah. Most of us don't. Most of us don't, because we haven't put ourselves in a position to have somebody who is an expert be able to look and to guide us to go in the right direction where we're going to get the best results. So that's, being able to do that and have somebody guide you in that way is the job of somebody who's working as a coach in any realm.
Yeah. And one of the things, for me, we're all dealing with change this year. We're dealing with crisis. We're dealing with chaos. And, when we embrace the opportunity and change, a question I keep coming back to is what's possible this year that wasn't last year? So
there's so many, it's interesting that, that you say that, because again, referring back to some of the clients that I've just been working with this week, and some of them, their ability to reach people now that they never would have considered trying to reach out to, and being able to have a different kind of meaningful conversation with them. And one of the clients I'm thinking about is they're very committed to working with higher education institutions, and they've now are now working in Africa. That wasn't available to them before. They're now able to impact higher education in Africa. And so I love the medium. I love what this makes possible. I love that if we do certain things well, that we have an opportunity to expand our reach and expand our connection far beyond what we had available to us before. And that's, I think that's one of the great things that's possible that wasn't before. And it requires some adjustments in how we work together.
Well, and to that end, one of the things that I'm so excited about, Teresa, is you've launched your Encore program virtually.
Yes.
So literally for years, I've come across people say, oh, you should work with Teresa. You should work with Teresa. But Teresa, you've had almost no public workshops because you were so busy. A company would hire you to come in and work with their team. And so unless you worked for a company that hired you, they couldn't get access to your training. This is something now that's available this year that wasn't available in the past.
Yes.
So tell us about your Encore training, because it's coming up.
Yeah, it's pretty, I'm so excited about it. It's like many of us through this whole time of pandemic, this has been on the back burner, we'll get to it, but we were so busy working with our corporate clients and delivering our trainings with them, it always got back burnered. Well, COVID really front burnered it quickly because we couldn't go and do those trainings. We had to adjust it. And so a couple of things that have happened out of it that are really, I'm so happy about. One of them, all of those kinds of strategic byproducts that take place. So instead of our previous training that we would do 2 full days back to back, we now do them over 6 sessions over a 2 or 3 week period of time in 2-hour segments. So a couple of things happen. Our clients are going crazy for it. They're so excited because, it's a huge commitment to have any of your team members take 2 full days out of their work, like whatever their regular job is. And I work a lot with salespeople, take 2 full days of your salespeople and they're not out selling. That's a big commitment. But now they're going, yeah, I could do 2 hours, 2 days a week, in 2-day increments per week, because that gives me all this extra time to be able to do my other work. The other thing is these workshops that we provide so much. We do so much in these workshops, and it's all designed around presentations that and learning the methodology, because we have a very distinct methodology that, as you mentioned, it's a very distinct methodology that we teach people so that they have really a plug and play way of creating any kind of communication. Like it, their preparation time gets reduced by, down to about 25% for a great presentation, not a like, it's okay. No, like a great presentation, reduce it right down to 25% of what it was before. So you have to learn that methodology and then apply it. So now the participants have an opportunity to integrate it and apply it, because it's not back to back to back. And so we've been so excited about the results and the feedback that we've been getting about it. So that's, the pandemic has been very good to us in that regard.
We got to take our wins where we can.
I'm taking my wins every place I can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so Teresa, you have a new Encore workshop coming up.
Yes. Begins the first day of it is November 23rd, which is a Monday, 10:00 a.m. Eastern time for 2 hours. And then the next day, same thing, Tuesday, the 24th, 10:00, until noon. And then the following 2 weeks, Monday and Tuesday, 10 to noon. And so it's over the course of 3 weeks, 4 hours a week. And it begins, as I said, with teaching the methodology, and the final session is the final show, where each person in the workshop does their presentation for everybody else, shows how great they've become. So.
Fabulous. That's great. So if you would like more information, the link to the Encore presentation, that the course that's coming up, will be in the comments of this live interview post. And if you have questions for Teresa, just put them in the comments. So Teresa's in this group, she can share. So if you have any questions, we'll make sure that she gets them and can respond to them. Teresa, I'm so grateful for you making the time to be on this interview with me.
My pleasure, Patti, as always.
Well, and the timing is so important. So again, we're at a point that our skill set required to be successful is changing. We're in a virtual world of connecting. What do you need that will take you over to see the results you want to see, have the impact you want to have, and really contribute? I really think all of us, I believe it's going to be the independent business owners adjusting and adapting to thrive. We are going to bring our communities out of this. Yes. What do you need for you to do that?
Yeah. May I add one thing?
Please.
One of the other things that I've seen, particularly, it really has again gotten amplified since with the pandemic, and that is the need for our teams to be really great at this too. So even if it's the business owner who seems to, they pretty much got it all handled, I got to tell you, the teams do not. And they're struggling, and they're not feeling confident, and they usually, very often, are not representing companies very well.
Right. Thank you for putting that in, Teresa. I keep speaking of the language of the entrepreneur, and you are 100% right, because it's our team turning our team into heroes that let us all thrive, because the entrepreneur can't do everything. So again, and I've taken a look at your program. Most of the time it's a business bring you in, having all their team members go through. Exactly. So this is really an investment in escalating the skill, and it doesn't take a lot to access that communication coaching and really magnify the impact. So again, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Patti. Always a pleasure.
Everyone have a great week, and to your success.